ancient inventions that are ahead of their modern counterparts. Sword of Gujian. A group of ancient tombs were found in 1965 by an archaeological team in Jingzhou, China, along an aqueduct of the Zhong River Reservoir. More than 2,000 relics were found, but the Sword of Gujian was the most remarkable and unexpected. The sword was discovered by the archaeologists adjacent to a human skeleton in a water-damaged coffin. The entire tomb was wet after being submerged in water for more than 1,000 years. So nobody anticipated to discover such a preserved item when the team removed the sword from its wooden scabbard. The sword's state of preservation was enhanced when it was dated to the spring and autumn period of Chinese history, which lasted roughly from 771 to 403 BC. That meant the blade was around 2,500 years old, putting it in the midst of a period of epic Chinese heroes, many of whom have almost mythical status in Chinese culture. Inca irrigation. The spectacular Incan aqueduct network supplied communities with clean drinking water and was used to irrigate agricultural terraces. Water was collected from the mountains via the aqueducts, which were frequently constructed on the sides of the mountains. The same aqueducts are still in constant use. As an added benefit, the terraces improved irrigation water management. The Incas were able to reliably produce enough food for the long term at a very high rate thanks to irrigation methods that prevented flooding. Machu Picchu's stunning terraces are still being visited by tourists from all over the world. For the Incan emperor, this place was created as a hideaway. Given that the system is still in operation, tourists may watch how the aqueducts move water. Lycurgus chalice. The glass chalice, often known as the Lycurgus cup as it depicts King Lycurgus of Thrace, glows a blood red color when lit from behind but a jade green color when lit from the front. This trait baffled experts for decades after the museum acquired the cup back in the 1950s. The puzzle wasn't solved until 1990 when English experts examined shattered pieces under a microscope and found that the Roman artisans were forerunners in nanotechnology. They had pulverized down silver and gold particles to a diameter of as little as 50 nanometers, or less than 1,000th the size of a grain of table salt, and saturated the glass with them. The original 4th century AD Lycurgus cup depicts King Lycurgus trapped in what seems to be a tangle of grapevines, presumably for evil acts committed against Dionysus, the Greek god of wine. If inventors can create a new detection tool from this ancient technology, it will be Lycurgus' turn to do the ensnaring. Iron Pillar of Delhi, India. At first glance, this might just look like an ordinary pillar and just another marker of an earlier time in Delhi's layered history. Its age, which is around 1,600 years old, surprises people because it is far older than one would anticipate for an iron column that, based on other exposed iron, should have long since decomposed into a pile of dust. The column, which is made of 98% pure wrought iron, is a clear example of the great degree of craftsmanship attained by ancient Indian ironsmiths. To even produce a heat intense enough to achieve forge welding, where 2 or even more pieces of metal were pounded together, it would have needed to be manufactured using a coal-heated furnace. However, it has resisted corrosion from the rains, storms, and temperature changes over the past 1,600 years. Not because the pillar's architects made a conscious effort or used a magical metallurgical process, but rather due to the unintentional creation of a passive protective coating. The Phaistos disc. The Phaistos disc is a burnt clay disc that was found in the Phaistos Palace on the island of Crete. It may date to the Middle to Late Minoan Bronze Age, 2nd millennium BC. The disc has a diameter of around 15 centimeters, 5.9 in, and is covered in a spiral of stamped symbols on both sides. The strange disc's face is etched with a language that has never been fully deciphered, and neither a known ancient nor modern alphabet contains the symbols that make up that language. Some archaeologists are skeptical about the validity of the Phaistos disk, despite the fact that the vast majority of academics think it is real. One of the most famous archaeological riddles, its function, significance, and even the location of its initial manufacturing are all still up for debate. This unusual artifact is currently on display at the Heraklion Archaeological Museum. Damascus stele. Known for its watery or wave-like pattern of light and dark spots, Damascus stele is a renowned variety of steel. Aside from being attractive, Damascus stele is prized for its ability to keep a sharp edge while remaining firm and flexible. Damascus stele weapons are much more effective than iron-based weapons. Damascus stele continues to be a superior material today despite being surpassed in quality by high-carbon steels produced using the Bessemer process in the 19th century. Because Damascus stele had been cast from woots, a type of steel originally made in India over 2,000 years ago, no one has replicated the original method of making it. India began producing woots long before the birth of Christ. Still, woots weapons and other items became truly popular in the 3rd and 4th centuries as trade items sold in Damascus, modern Syria.